South Park is well known for being a particularly offensive TV series to the point that it's surprising the show is still on the air after nearly 30 years. Today, let's take a look at a few episodes that would totally get canceled in 2025. Of course, we have to start with a few episodes that were canceled in their time. The most famous of the bunch has to be the Season 5 episode Super Best Friends, which starts off reasonably enough with a takedown of groupthink and cult mentality through the use of David Blaine and his Blaintology movement. This episode almost feels like a precursor to the Scientology episode from Season 9, or All About Mormons from Season 7. While those episodes stuck to cults and religious movements that are often mocked by others, this episode brought in a collective of religious figures, known as the Super Best Friends, a clear parody of the Super Friends. At first, it's just Jesus who Stan brings in to aid in disproving David Blaine's very real magic, which Jesus is understandably impressed by. So Jesus calls on Buddha, Krishna, Joseph Smith, Lao Tzu, and the Prophet Muhammad. Oh, also semen. He has the power of talking to fish and being the butt of jokes about his name. If you've paid any attention to religious discourse over the last few decades, you might see the problem. The Muslim prophet Muhammad is believed to be a holy figure who cannot be depicted by the human hand. It's a matter taken very seriously amongst those of the Muslim faith and has resulted in numerous controversies, including death threats against Swedish artist Lars Vilks in 2007. That's not the only offensive thing about the episode. There's also the fact that the Super Best Friends construct a giant stone John Wilkes Booth in order to defeat the Lincoln Memorial, which was given power by David Blaine. The episode was not controversial at the time of its initial airing, but was later banned following a controversy over other South Park episodes. It took a few seasons, but eventually Trey Parker and Matt Stone came around to ridiculing Islamic censorship in the Season 10 two-parter Cartoon Wars. The plot hook takes the form of Family Guy portraying Muhammad, which results in a jihad being placed on Family Guy in the United States. Family Guy initially acquiesces and censors Muhammad's brief appearance, but soon reveals that the episode was part 1 of a two-parter, and that the second episode would feature Muhammad without censorship. This leads to Kyle and Cartman teaming up to stop Family Guy. But of course, it turns out that Cartman is trying to get the whole show taken off the air because people constantly tell him that his sense of humor is just like Family Guy. It's a typically on-the-nose criticism from Parker and Stone about Family Guy's joke structure. The first episode of Cartoon Wars ends with a cliffhanger, which asks whether Comedy Central will have what it takes to show the episode uncensored. Unsurprisingly, they did not allow South Park to portray the moment, and so Cartoon Wars ends with title cards stating that Comedy Central wouldn't allow for the image of Muhammad to air. However, in the world of South Park, the episode airs uncensored, and the terrorists respond with their own cartoon. It's a moment that loses quite a bit of its bite due to Comedy Central's censorship. Not to be kept down for long, the Cartoon Wars controversy was followed up in Season 14 by another two-parter, 200 and 201, wherein Tom Cruise threatens a class action lawsuit against the town of South Park after Stan calls him a fudge packer, due to the fact that he's actively packing fudge in a fudge factory. He brings together a huge number of past celebrities who have been insulted by the show, including Paris Hilton, John Travolta, Kanye West, and Jared from Subway, all of whom want South Park to be silent. They demand that Muhammad show up and meet with Tom Cruise. Rob Reiner comes up with a plan to get Muhammad's goo, which would in turn give the celebrities Muhammad's power to not be made fun of. In order to comply with the celebrities' demands, the town procures Muhammad from the Super Best Friends and hides him in a bear mascot costume. The two-parter culminates in what should have been a clear depiction of the Prophet Muhammad, but Comedy Central got cold feet about the whole ordeal, resulting in the second episode being highly censored. Scenes were excised and large chunks of dialogue were bleeped out, making it hard to see where the satire ended and where the censorship began. That second episode also technically features Cartman utilizing blackface to trick Dr. Mephisto. This aspect doesn't get talked about very often, but we could see it causing quite a bit of controversy in 2025. To this day, if you'd like to watch any of these episodes, you have to go for the DVD and Blu-ray releases, as they are not available to stream. An episode that didn't get banned, but would no doubt go over very poorly today, is the Season 11 premiere, With Apologies to Jesse Jackson. Its satirical look at racism and public apologies focuses on Randy, who makes a truly disastrous mistake while on Wheel of Fortune and uses the N-word on live television while trying to guess the correct answer to people who annoy you. Randy winds up appealing to Jesse Jackson, who insists that the only way for Randy to apologize is to kiss his ass. And this leads to Jackson proclaiming proclaiming himself as the Emperor of Black people. It's a pretty shocking episode, especially since the N-word is used 43 times without censorship. The episode also earns cancellation points due to its portrayal of little people, which it treats as so funny that Cartman can't stop laughing when one shows up to give the school a talk about prejudice. Surprisingly, the episode didn't court as much controversy as you'd expect at the time, though with many critics complimentary toward the episode's satirical look at racism. Rewind back to the Season 9 premiere, and South Park showed just how ahead of its time it can be by portraying Mr. Garrison's transition into a woman. The episode, Mr. Garrison's Fancy New Vagina, features a graphic surgery sequence to start things off, resulting in the new Mrs. Garrison. It also resulted in quite a bit of disgust from viewers, who questioned the necessity of including the shocking material. The 2005 episode treats sex changes as gross, even while espousing an inclusive worldview. The titular operation inspires Kyle to have a procedure done to make himself into a black man so that he can be good at basketball. The insinuation is that transition surgery can't turn Mr. Garrison into an actual woman, which many would find offensive in 2025. The Season 23 episode banned in China is an interesting case, thanks in no small part to the fact it was actually banned in China, along with South Park as a whole. The episode focuses on how Hollywood, and Disney in particular, are quick to cater to Chinese censorship. This includes Randy trying to smuggle in marijuana and going to a Chinese prison where he meets Winnie the Pooh and Piglet. Oh, and he murders Pooh. But banned in China wasn't the first episode to tackle that country. The Season 12 episode, The China Problem, though, isn't cancelable for its criticisms of China. Instead, its notoriety is based around a scene in which George Lucas and Steven Spielberg sexually assault Indiana Jones. The move came as a result of the release of Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, of which Parker and Stone were critical to say the least. In their commentary for the DVD release, the two creators admitted that the scariest aspect of Crystal Skull was that it suggested South Park could also eventually decline in quality. Finally, we have to mention Season 12's other highly inappropriate episode, Britney's New Look. That one is particularly mean-spirited toward Britney Spears, who at the time was undergoing a lot of pressure from the tabloids, which had led her to shave her own head in February 2007. While the episode's message is in support of Spears, it still took a lot of pot shots at the singer, and could be seen as particularly offensive given the public's current understanding of her situation. In the episode, she attempts to kill herself and winds up with half a head. As a society, we're now far more empathetic toward the plight of public figures like Spears, and so it would not be surprising to see an episode like this under a lot more fire in 2025 than it was back in 2008. What episodes of South Park do you think would get it canceled today? Let us know in the comments, and thank you for watching Screen Rant.